Making decisions in life is hard. Most people are indecisive and they're filled with self-doubt. If we are able to make decisions with confidence and follow through with conviction, then this gives us an asymmetric advantage over the rest of society. People suck at decision making because they're taught that logic and reason always lead to the correct choice. But here's the reality that most people never realize. Rationality just leads to rationalizations. Half the time we've already made up the decision in our minds and we're just using logic to justify it. This is stupid. This is stupid because you're not getting the benefits of cold hard logic, nor are you embracing the power of human intuition. You're losing out on both sides. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make better choices because we all have choices to make. Should you start a business? Should you stay in school? Should you ask her on a date or wait till you do more looks maxing? Or should you quit your job now? Should you wait till you have more savings? There's so many decisions. Each decision has pros and cons. In real life, there are no solutions, there's only trade-offs. And even if you make the perfect decision after making this full pros and cons list, the outcome is often outside your control. On top of this, if you avoid making decisions, you lose because others will make that decision for you. And if you constantly doubt your decision, you still lose because circumstances will make the decision for you. So you have to make decisions and you have to have the confidence that it'll work out in the end. So what do? No human has perfect knowledge, no human can predict the future, and all humans have limited time on this earth. How do we stop having regrets at what could have been? How do we stop wasting years of our life on stuff that doesn't really matter? I'm going to give you a tool that's helped me make decisions quickly that leave me with zero regret. This tool has given me the peace of mind to see a decision through to its conclusion and not have regret even if the outcome isn't exactly what I expected it to be. This tool is called the eudaimonic compass. Here I must confess that it took me a decade to find my identity, my ethos, and what I wanted to do for a living. I don't want you to go through the same unnecessary sacrifices and avoidable pains. I jumped around a lot in life. I went to one of the top American engineering colleges, and at the end I felt crushing depression because I never really cared about thermodynamics or turbulent flow. I did it because my parents' vision for me entailed going to engineering school. Then I joined the PhD program in biosciences because it would give me a very defined road towards success. It would give me prestige among my peers to have a PhD. Then I quit and I joined the army, hoping to get as far from academia and the traditional career path as possible. Luckily, this was the start of my self-mastery journey because I was able to dedicate 8 months of my life to physical effort in the form of getting smoked every day and the mental effort of writing and thinking. Oh, I should show you. So there's 3 journals right here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's within frame, but these 3 journals are completely full. Every single line is filled by my thoughts and introspections that I wrote down during basic training. And to this day, these journals provide insights that I use to make videos. I used to carry these journals everywhere I used to go during training. I used to carry them to the M4 range, during ruck marches. Wherever I went, one of these journals came with me. Whenever there was downtime, I'd be writing. So many guys would be asking me, what are you writing in there? Well, one of the things I was writing was my problems in life, basically. I was doing a self-analysis. One of my problems in life I triangulated was that I wasn't able to make or stick to decisions. When I was a kid, I was decisive. I was curious. I was driven. I was fearless. But with time, the education system just ground me into the dirt and shaped me into the cog they wanted me to be. There are all these pressures, man. What would my parents think? How would I make money? How would it look on the resume? What would girls think? All this bullshit without asking the main question of what would future me think? Would I be proud of my past decisions or would I feel guilty? It was then that I created this tool, this eudaimonic compass that has never failed me. There are 2 types of situations in life. Situations that are within your control and situations which are outside your control. I'm going to give you a prayer that I like. Give me the courage to control that which I can. Give me the stoicism to accept that which I cannot. Give me the wisdom to tell the difference. In some cases, we don't have control. The death of a loved one, famine, disease, all these things, right? But in most things, we do have control over our destiny. And when we make choices, it matters. Luckily, we have deep intuitions within us to help us make decisions. I used to think that good decisions are made with cold logic and brutal reasoning. Now I have more trust in my intuition. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to develop that. This does not mean I just do whatever I feel like doing. There's a structure to this. Most modern people make decisions based on perceived pleasure. Humans are actually terrible at predicting how much pleasure an action will give them. We've all felt the pull of temptation. We've all yielded to the pull of temptation. There's no need for me to give examples because every one of us has yielded to the weakness of the flesh at some point. But in the aftermath, the pleasure is nowhere to be found, replaced by emptiness. The pleasure never lasts, and our prediction about how much pleasure we're going to get is always a miscalculation. So what if we stopped using pleasure as the North Star? What if we got off the hedonic treadmill? The hedonic treadmill is when you continue to walk and never really get anywhere because the pleasures start fading away and you keep walking forward, seeking for more pleasures, which in turn fade away. There is a better way. We can use this eudaimonic compass. Eudaimonic is the opposite of hedonic. Eudaimonic is pursuing happiness through actions that give you a sense of pride in accomplishment rather than pleasure. Pride stacks, pleasure decays, and that's the chief difference between the two. A good gym session brings you pride in accomplishment. But in the same gym session, if you slacked off and you knew you could have gone harder, you bring a sense of guilt. If you prepare a highly testosteronous meal of lamb and carrots, you feel pride. But if you chow down some seed oil slop, then you will feel guilt. If you resist watching porn, you will feel pride. If you fall to weakness, you'll feel guilt. Humans are good at predicting pride, but they're amazing at predicting guilt. Whenever you're making a complex decision or you're in a new situation, you can predict which decision will leave you with a sense of guilt. Seeking pleasure is always an unreliable North Star, but avoiding guilt will not lead you astray. I spoke about pride, but isn't pride bad? I don't think so. Is it wrong to work for years to have a physique that you're proud of? Is it wrong for your parents to be proud of you when you finally retire them? When you have kids and they grow into strong, independent men and women with their own missions, would it be wrong to feel pride in their achievements? Would it be wrong to have pride in a job well done, a day's honest labor, victory won by the strength of your hand? Of course not. From all this and more, we know that pride as such is not bad. Yet, the ancient texts warn us of pride. But if you read deeper, these texts aren't talking about the type of pride that I described. They're talking about hubris or egotism. That's when you think you're flawless and perfect. That's when you have pride without gratitude. For example, there's nothing wrong with having pride in an aesthetic physique. However, when the ego gets too attached to the physique, then you're setting up yourself for failure. Chris Williamson talks about this with Tim Ferriss. How Chris, even though he's in amazing shape, he has started to see the signs of aging. At some point, he's not going to get better physically, and he's going to start slowing down. Chris talks about how if all his ego is invested into his physique, he'd be going into depression. You can see egotism when influencers turn on their audience when they start losing traction. You can see hubris when corrupt politicians think that they deserve power, or when bankers leverage everything for more returns. Egotism is when a businessman has no gratitude towards his employees, his customers, or his advisors. I think you can see the difference from having a healthy level of pride in oneself versus being hubristic or egotistical. I think the word pride is confusing because it's changed meaning over the years. And this happens all the time, happens in all languages. Jordan Peterson actually gives an example of the word meek. There's a famous phrase, "The meek shall inherit the earth." In today's English, meek means submissive. But in older times, actually the word meant being peaceful until provoked. So don't get stuck on the language. Language is just a tool of communication and it's not perfect. Focus on the terrain, not the map. Focus on the concepts rather than the exact words that I'm using. When I'm talking about pride in this video, I'm obviously talking about good pride, not hubris, not arrogance, not egotism. Now let's discuss how to use this eudaimonic compass. When you're confronted with a fork in the road, you often know which road will lead to guilt and which one leads to pride. Even in a complicated situation where you don't know what the outcome will be, you can ask yourself the question, which option leads to pride and which one is going to give me guilt? You literally cannot make a bad decision if you do this. Instead of asking how much money will I make or how much prestige will I get or what will my parents think, what will the girls think, what will the resume look like, ask yourself, would I feel good about this in the future? The interesting thing is, even if you have a less than optimal outcome, you won't feel guilty because that was the best decision you could have made given your current knowledge. If you focus on stacking pride and reducing the level of guilt, then you win in the long term. In fact, you win in the short term as well as the long term. And I'll explain the exact mechanism why that's the case. If you follow this principle of pride stacking, even over a week, it will change your self-perception. In some sense, you're winning your own respect. And you should start small. Every day we have small choices to make. Should you wake up and step out into the sun, or should stay scrolling on your phone on your bed? Should you go for a walk outside or play video games? Should you call your parents? Should you study for your exams? Should you be honest? Should you lie? If you make the choice based on which road leads to pride and accomplishment, then you're winning your own respect. When I was making the decision to show my face on camera and stand by my beliefs, I earned my respect by doing what I believed was right. When I quit the biosciences PhD program despite working so hard to get in, I won my respect by willing to bet on myself. When I defeated my addictions, I won my respect by proving to myself that I am a man who keeps his promises. When I got through the infantry warfare school, I won my respect by proving that I had what it took. This pride stacking concept has changed the way I see decision making. It's no longer a matter of pros and cons and min-maxing. It's no longer a matter of just optimization. It's a matter of building my psyche. That's what every single decision point in life is. It's not the actual outcomes which stack. It's how you build your psyche, because every time your psyche is built and becomes more anti-fragile, becomes stronger, your strength of character has improved, you'll just have a higher and higher chance of making the right call in the next decision that you make. That's how you really stack success. That's what I've recently learned. It's not like I'm some wise old guy who's lived, 30 years doing this. This is something I learned in the last few years. It served me well, and so I'm communicating this with you. You're teaching your subconscious that you are a person worthy of your own trust and respect. They say that you can't force or buy respect, and that's true. And certainly it is true when you're talking about self-respect. You can only earn respect. And especially self-respect, because there can be no deception or trickery. You know all your dirty secrets. You know when you fail. You know when you lie to yourself. You cannot trick the subconscious. It's always looking at you, and there is no shortcut to be had. When you choose the guilty option versus pride, you're chipping away at your psyche. Eventually, you'll have a fragmented psyche. This is the kind of psyche that most modern people have. People have a disconnect between what they think they should do and what they actually do. This gap between what you think should be done and what you actually do is the source of pain. I found that as I shrink this gap nice and slowly every year, I've been just more content with the person that I am, the things that I'm doing. I'm making better decisions, and that's translating in all kinds of success, relationships, money, everything. Most people don't know this, but the most valuable asset you have is your character. Nobody's talking about how to train the character. What I'm describing so far is really progressive overload for your psyche. People go to the gym to get big, they go to college to appear smart, but size and intelligence don't correlate with making better decisions. The strength of character is the only thing that correlates with better decision making. And sadly, this is the metric on which the modern society fails. This is the metric which I want to strengthen, because at the end of the day, character is destiny, not genetics, not height, not education, not IQ. Character is destiny above all else. If you don't train your psyche when you are young and you have less responsibility, then when you grow older and you have really big decisions later in life, having kids, getting married, buying a house, selling your business, starting a business, whatever, right? Then you're going to be unprepared. Another reason to use the eudaimonic compass over the hedonic treadmill is that it forces morality. And morality is a strategic advantage in the long run. Should you cheat on your exam or just take the L? Should you lie on your resume to get the job? Should you mislead your business partner? Should you exaggerate your products to get more sales? The dishonest answer will give you better results in the short term. But you'll be teaching your subconscious that you are fundamentally dishonest. If your subconscious cannot trust you, then it will sabotage you. No man can feel pride in dishonesty, only guilt. By making decisions to minimize long-term guilt, you're actually maximizing long-term profit. And you're doing this by building a reputation of honesty and quality that others can see, but also your own subconscious can see. This eudaimonic compass works great when you're making strategic decisions. My third ever YouTube video got 400,000 views in just 3 weeks. absolute black swan event, unpredictable, right? Completely unpredictable. That's what black swan events are. They can be life-changing, but not repeatable. So I had to make a choice. I had a good job at the time. I was doing well. I landed an engineering job with a startup that made food preservation systems. It was fairly meaningful work. I enjoyed it to some extent. I had decent freedom. I had a good paycheck. And I was on track to even gain equity in the company. My parents were happy. I was making similar money to other engineering friends. I was on track, man. I was finally on track after so many different trials and testing and doing different things. On one hand, I had the safety of the job, which I understood. On the other hand, YouTube is fickle. Yes, I had one video take off, but that's not a guarantee of income. I had to make a decision, and the decision boiled down to basically, the tides of fortune had handed me this prize in the form of this video just randomly taking off. If I didn't grab this opportunity, I would feel guilty forever because my dream was always to be a creative businessman, not an engineer. If I commit to entrepreneurship and take a chance of myself, then I would feel pride regardless of the outcome. On the other hand, if I chose the path of safety despite the opportunity falling into my lap, then I would feel guilt forever. Framing it like that, it became a less hard decision. Choose the thing that made me feel self-accomplishment and pride, and don't choose a thing that I knew would make me feel guilty forever. And by the way, if you're in a position in life where you're trying to strategize and look towards the future, trying to make decisions, or if you're trying to do health optimization, especially hormonal and testosterone optimization, I've recently opened up one-on-one coaching, very temporary. You should look in the description for the scheduling link. And also I should say, this is actually part 2 of a 2-part series. Part 1 discusses Chadflation, how competition is speeding up and what you can do about it. You should watch that video to complete your knowledge. And closing out, I want to tell you one thing. If you remember nothing else from this video, I want you to remember this one sentence. We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.